Hi there, my name is Andy Reisner. I am a German musician and composer located in the surroundings of Cologne, and I'm looking forward to have a conversation with DUDGRICK.
Hi, I'm DUDGRICK Bevins. I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I am from the North Georgia mountains, and I work in all mediums and modes.
Question number 1. Where do you live? City or countryside?
Well, Andy, when we were making this album, I was living in New York City, but now I'm back in Ellijay, Georgia, the apple capital of Georgia, which is very different from New York City. I think, though, there were hints of my urge to move and my need to move in the album. I think you see that with some of the folk instruments you might hear played throughout my side of the album. And there's also this tension of kind of cutting up spaces. So I plundered some of the audio for my half of the album, and I think the cutting up of taking something from a magical place, a lecture, an academic magical lecture, as I did from Vanessa Sinclair, and then layering it with audio from just a jam session I had with a friend that's been stretched out and distorted, and again mixed with, as I said, folk instruments, dulcimers, harps, a lot of Celtic and Russian instruments are on that side of the album.
What is your favorite piece of music?
Andy, that's an unfair question to ask someone their favorite piece of music. It's so hard. I think, well, my favorite piece of music on this label is Die Tote Maus. I love that album. I listen to it often, both on cassette and digitally. Lately, I've been jamming out to my old vinyl collection, so my most recent favorites include Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin, and I have this wonderful vinyl split from Berlin Atonal with Psychic TV and Zev. So those things are all on high rotation. But I also listen to a lot of bluegrass, contemporary bluegrass I enjoy. So yeah, I can't nail it down to just one, but those are the things I'm listening to now. And I'll get on Bandcamp and I'll just prowl through the bluegrass and experimental music, and that's where I do so much. Psychic TV has been fundamental, really anything with Genesis P-Orridge, and Laurie Anderson. Those two artists have been fundamental in shaping what I think music can be and how I think music can be constructed. So I'm going to have to go with that. Laurie Anderson, Genesis P-Orridge. Those are, I think, two of my most favorite composers. Influential composers.
Question number 3. Are you going to concerts? Which ones?
So as I said, I'm in beautiful Ellijay, Georgia here, and in the time that I was away, about 10 years, a couple years in Atlanta and then 8 years in New York, in the time that I was away, Ellijay has kind of developed this little underground art scene, which is exciting considering it's just a tourist town with very, very few people. A bunch of young folks have got together and created the Ellijay Makerspace, and they're having a concert this Saturday to launch their TV channel, which I'm very excited about. And I'm hoping some of this material might end up on their TV or radio station, because they do reviews and they have a zine. They have so much going on. So yeah, I'm going to a concert this Saturday. I don't know any of the bands. It's a free concert. I think it's some country punk kind of stuff. I'm excited for it because I'm excited to go meet the community. Before that, it had been a while since I've been to a concert. The pandemic. I had tickets to see Philip Glass, but couldn't go because I was sick before I left New York. Before that, I saw Massive Attack. Before that, it was Jean-Michel Jarre, who's another very influential musician for me. Although, can any of us ever be as awesome as Jean-Michel Jarre?
Do you regard your music as being popular music? And what do you think will popular music be in the future?
I think album sales determine if the music is popular, so I don't think my music is popular. But that's okay. I think there's more to art than sales. Popular music tends to be very concise, rehearsed, inflexible. And those are things that I am not. Also, there are no catchy choruses in my songs, and very little of my voice. But I think in the future, Amazon will just look at the data on our computers and read our text messages and go through our videos on our phones and pick out the things that we talk about and like and buy and turn those into on-demand music for us. Everyone will be getting songs written specifically for them in the moment, and they'll be changed for every single person. That's what popular music will be. AI robots writing songs for you based on marketing data. I guess that's not very hopeful, but it is what it is. That's what I think. I really do think.
Question number 5. Why orchids?
Orchids for so many reasons. In Atlanta, here in Georgia, we have a world-famous orchid house, and I've always been drawn to the beauty and fragility of orchids. They're incredibly fickle. They're hardier than we realize, but they can also kind of die and wilt on a whim, and they're prone to, infections and disease from our hands. It's important not to touch the flowers if you keep orchids at home. So I think I was, dreaming of Georgia when I was putting the orchids into my half of the album, and then Mikey Hope eventually put them on the cover of this album for us. I also think that the orchids work well with your concept, Andy, of the two brothers that we really fleshed out into this full album with two musicians and an across-the-world interview, 2 languages. I think that the orchids speak to that, and they speak to that because the word orchid actually means testicle, and it's because they have a tuber. And when we think of men the male genitalia. We have a penis and 2 testicles. So those 2 testicles are the orchids. To remove them would be an orchiectomy. So I think about a pair of orchids, a pair of testicles, being the 2 brothers here. And the use of the flower, which we think of as feminine and delicate, as I said, fragile, breaks down this notion of masculinity being so strong and rigid and unyielding. But it's also fun because testicles are very sensitive, right? Which I think goes with the orchids. And so bringing that fragility into manhood, I think, is useful here. There's also this, the way orchids grow. They're kind of like 2 kinds of orchids. There's orchids that grow kind of long and along a rhizome. And then there are also orchids that reach into the air and pull things in and grab the moisture like this. So we have rhizomes and air roots. These are kind of 2 main branches we're looking at with the orchids. And I think that one of those speaks to your work, Andy, and the other one speaks to my work. But they're both pulling things together. They're just doing it in different ways. So yeah, orchids. They're magical, they're beautiful, they're masculine, they're feminine. They're a wonderful, wonderful living thing. All right, Andy, thank you again for taking the time to talk with me, but more importantly, thank you for taking the time to do this album with me, to be my brother in music and put some art into the world with our name on it. Peace, buddy.
Thank you very much for your answers, DUDGRICK, and thank you very much, everyone, for your attention to this project, and thank you for working with me, and I'm looking forward to. Bye.